Hello, and welcome to Inventors Arena. I'm Ed, and this is Scott. Today we're going to be talking about brainstorming your invention. Scott?
Well, all ideas start with a thought, with a seed, whatever you want to call it. And most inventors we have found are either very creative or very innovative. And we'll probably do another episode on the difference between those two. But from a creativity standpoint, it is coming up usually with a solution to a problem that the inventor has identified out there that exists. We're coming up with an opportunity, a solution to an opportunity that they see someplace out there in the marketplace. And either one is fine. Either one works. You can make money from both sides of that coin.
That's right. They're generally entrepreneurial too, right?
They're very entrepreneurial, but oftentimes they struggle a little bit on some of the business side. So that's why we've created our program to help them beef up what they need to think about the business aspects of marketing, sales, sitting with an investor, negotiating, those type of things. But they are entrepreneurial in the sense that they have an idea and they know that they need to bring it to market somehow.
Yes.
And that's very effective for them to do that. You want to figure out your own creativity. We always tell all the inventors that they need to know themselves and their own capabilities from the very beginning because everybody is different. And having a great idea and being very creative is great if you have trouble or difficulties expressing that to others.
Yes.
As one example. So we want everybody to think about themselves, be comfortable with your idea. And once you realize that, then you can come to market with your idea.
That's right. And sometimes brainstorming really helps, right? Like you're thinking through your creative phases, I guess, on things. And but sometimes it's nice to be able to think in different ways. So there are many different ways to brainstorm to develop an invention concept and or refine it, right? If you have an inventive mind, you should always be seeking out a problem and then matching it with a solution. Your creativity can be taken to new levels simply by brainstorming in certain instances.
Yeah, we highly encourage the brainstorming activity. And the one that I like to use is storyboarding. And I've been using storyboarding, the concept created by Walt Disney to make cartoons like 70 years ago is still very effective in the marketplace today. You can do a storyboarding session by yourself. You can buy yourself a whiteboard, a 6x8 whiteboard, and start up in the corner and draft your idea and work it all the way through. Identify the problems, the opportunities, and solutions. But we highly recommend you get others involved in the process because we have found that the more synergy that's in the room, the better the brainstorming sessions.
Yeah, you just want to have that level of confidentiality.
Yeah, you want to make sure that, early on, you might want to do some non-disclosure agreements. We're not offering legal advice here, but we do that even in our sessions, right? We protect our ideas. So you want to do that, but also you want the input from a lot of people. And generally speaking, if you can make it a fun activity, invite people in, have food. Okay, we have found brainstorming sessions are much more productive. You would be surprised the ideas people will create for two donuts or a slice of pizza, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what I do quite often at the San Diego Inventors Forum. They've got that group that meet over in that one packaging guy's garage or his place of business, and they'll all sit around a big old table and hash out ideas, and they come up with some great ideas out of there. And it's that understanding of confidentiality and kind of wanting to give back, like they want to help each other, and so that works really good. So with that, there's some rules to brainstorming, right? So during the brainstorming is to be understood that there is no judgment. Some people can throw out all kinds of ideas, and there should be no judgment if somebody's sitting across there saying, "Oh, that's a crazy idea. That'll never work," or whatever. That's not what it's about. It's supposed to be positive and absolutely no judgment. Then everybody feels open to share. And the more ideas, the better. Every participating member is to be free thinking because that's the bonus of it. It kind of lets you get out of that box. So you can be wild, but stay on topic, right? Because some people get a little too wild, and it's fun, but it's you want to do it so that it's a nice balance and positively build on the other ideas presented. That's why there's no negativity that should be coming in there. It shouldn't be, oh, that's a bad idea, that'll never work. It should be like, oh, well, I can build upon that. So that's
in the early stages, you're looking for ideas. So there's no such thing as a bad idea.
Yeah, really no right or wrong.
Yeah,
either, right?
because you're just capturing a lot of thoughts. And there have been many instances where one wild idea, as you say, we take it and we put it up in what we call the parking lot. And then sometime before that brainstorming session ends, somebody says, that's not so wild and crazy anymore. Why don't we move that down here? Because that could be a benefit that we offer. So you never know. And so you want everybody to be as open and honest during the brainstorming session as possible. And we gave a few suggestions, but create your own rules.
Yeah.
And let everybody know from the very beginning what they are. Ideally, though, there are two things that you want to focus on: creativity and fun.
Yes.
Most brainstorming sessions that are productive require those two elements. So, and if you're not fun, and we've been in some brainstorming sessions facilitated by some very rigid, strict people who just follow the rules and everything. And yeah, very serious. Maybe you ask somebody else to facilitate that brainstorming session for you. Yeah. Because you do want it to be fun and engaging with everybody that is out there. Ideally, you want to invite your entire team to that brainstorming session. If you're early on and you don't have a team yet, this is a good time to create one. Yeah, this is a good time to figure out, even if it's just family and friends, where you get them together and say, hey, I've got this idea. I really don't know if it's a good idea or not. Can we just sit around a table and meet and talk about it for a while, have a brainstorming session, and you never know what might come out of that session. So your team can be a formal team or it can be an informal team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too, like you're mentioning with a team, I think a lot of the stuff that gets developed on that are stuff we haven't even talked about, like respect and trust and teamwork, right? And that's nice, and you can develop that early on, especially.
And you'll need it later on as you move from closer to the marketplace that is there. So, and I think the other thing is some people are afraid to get out of their comfort zone.
Sure.
And when you're brainstorming, this is kind of like everything is wild and free at the beginning. And there's no wrong answer. There's no bad answer. That's non-judgmental. It's almost like a group therapy session to some degree. And you want that. You want that free expression of ideas, and you need to have that as well. So you need to be, if you're very rigid and very structured, think about, this is the one time where I need to set that aside and I need to be open and honest and share all of my ideas, particularly if you're asked to participate in a brainstorming activity and you're an introvert. And we have facilitated sessions where you have that one shy, quiet person in the room who won't say anything, and they're sitting there with the best idea in the room.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, and so you want to be able to think outside your box and be very comfortable in that environment.
Yeah, that is there. Absolutely. So. You want to get those unknown solutions, right?
Yes.
When you'd say, looking at your computer, and who would have thought years and years ago that you'd just touch your screen and you go up or you go down, or, at some point somebody was like, oh, that's a crazy idea. And the next person said, well, let's make that work. So, and it's very important getting the funding. There's, different techniques for brainstorming that will work. And a lot of that, once you get to that point where you got that invention in a final form, then you can look at the funding. But in the meantime, there's techniques. There's the trigger method. There's the round robin. There's the step ladder. There's rapid ideation. There's different ways to do it. And kind of whatever works best for you. You can try different combos of things. And like Scott was saying, it's kind of, you can go with how it feels best for you as you're going. It's helpful if you have a good, trusted team to bounce ideas off, even if you are an independent inventor, right? Like we see in the San Diego group, it's you just want to be sure that everything is kept confidential, because you don't want somebody in the room that's saying, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to take that and develop that myself. You don't want that. So if you're a small, innovative company, you may want to switch up teams from time to time, or, create some diversity in there. create competition between groups, share inspiration, whatever you want to do. Just make it fun and make sure you're getting out of the box. And then sometimes you might say, oh, well, we've been out of the box. Now let's get back in the box. So you create more structure around it, so it's more difficult sometimes. So it's good to move around and bring it all together.
It is. I'm reminded of an episode of 60 Minutes years ago with the world's leading design group, which is called IDEO. It's created by 2 Stanford professors. And it's about a 22-minute session. It's very interesting because they allowed the cameras in to show exactly what brainstorming sessions look like. And at the early stage, it was like wild and crazy ideas. And they were all up. It was very interactive. Nobody sat. They wandered around the room. They put posters, everything. And it was highly creative. Yeah. But at some point in time, I think the phrase used was the grown-ups in the room said, that's great on data gathering. Now we need to start filtering some of this through to figure out what are the most viable ideas that we have out there. And eventually you want to do that with your brainstorming. You'll have lots of ideas. Some will be viable, some won't, some will be tangible, others will be, it's a great idea in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. So
or technology hasn't caught up yet. Or
that is the case. Sometimes it's there. But one thing we see is at some point in time during brainstorming, you have disagreements between people.
Yes.
And that's conflict. And there are a lot of times when conflict is good managed conflict. But early on in the brainstorming process, you really don't want a lot of conflict because this is supposed to be like a safe zone, a safe environment where everybody feels free to share their ideas.
Yeah, it kind of stops. Too much conflict will stop that free flow.
It does.
Beginning at least, and then the conflict to be like, well, explain this or explain that, or how do you see this? That's
and pretty soon the mood is negative instead of positive, and it changes the dynamics of the meeting. And at some point later on, you may need to have some of those discussions, but that's not the time. Not during the initial brainstorming phase that's there. Now, you need to organize your ideas. How do you do that? Well, you get to decide that. But we suggest capturing everything first, whether you write it on a whiteboard, whether you have somebody taking notes, whether you're using AI, which we have done to take notes in meetings. You want to organize those notes at some point in time because you want to have random ideas thrown out from every place. And you can have a structure that you create from the very beginning, and that's okay, and we've seen that work. And sometimes it's better just to have a free-flowing discussion, and you capture everything at first, and then you think about organizing it a little bit later. The key is, at the end of it, whatever method you use, it's a good brainstorming session. Everybody gets a high five. Everybody gets a thank you. And you are appreciative of all of the ideas that have been shared through the brainstorming session.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, and happy brainstorming. Right?
If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And it helps that so many times we talk about being an inventor and kind of feeling alone in it. And whereas if you're doing brainstorming right, even if it's by yourself, I guess you don't feel as alone. But if you got a group, man, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And all kinds of efforts, so much creativity. I think it's just a great challenge.
We do it all the time. I mean, if we could turn our camera around in the studio, we have a 6x8 whiteboard over there with our last brainstorming session, right?
Yeah.
It's very effective. We practice what we preach.
And really, who knows what can be done? The sky's the limit, even past the sky's the limit. I mean, at Tesla or the rockets group, SpaceX there, somebody was saying at some point in time, well, I think we can actually land rockets again, right? And then all of a sudden they're landing in tongs. Like, that's amazing technology, right? So don't limit yourself to what can be done, and be a great team player, always yourself be a good team player, and pick good team players to play with you, right? You want to drive innovation, and we certainly want to help with that. That's why we're creating the channel. That's why we created the program. Creativity should be deeply, deeply explored. Otherwise, how do you get new things and make life easier and that? So in future episodes, we're also going to discuss other options that are a little bit more sophisticated, like trees. that'll kind of blow all of our minds, right? And have some fun too.
That's true. And if you're wondering where you could get a formal or maybe even informal focus group, brainstorming group, we suggest you seek out your local inventors group.
Yeah.
They're all across the United States, and we've been to many of them. We're presenters at some of them. They are highly interactive. If you share your ideas, everybody in the room will share their ideas and thoughts. As you said earlier, we had one where somebody was looking for packaging, and on the other side of the room was a guy that owned a packaging company, and
solve that problem.
Yeah, they didn't even need a brainstorming session. They handled it live right there. But generally speaking, most inventor groups have a non-disclosure clause, whether formal or informal, in the room, that you can share your ideas, and they will give you ideas. Whether you even call it a brainstorming session or not, they will share ideas with you. So we highly suggest everybody seek out their local inventors group. And if you don't know where your local one is, at the bottom of our website at theinventorsarena.com, all the way at the bottom, we have a map where we have all of them across the United States listed. Along with that, if you have an idea or a suggestion that you would like for us to address in a future episode, we welcome that as well. Please share those with us. We designed our sessions each week based upon your content, what we have seen in our 50 years of experience, and we want to see more. We want you to be engaged and involved in our episodes, and we even interview sometimes some of the people. Episodes, we get them highly engaged, and maybe one time we will even think about doing a live brainstorming session. How about that?
The one that you mentioned, I remember I saw that years ago too, and that was fabulous.
That is
by the end of the thing. Yeah, by the end of the thing, they had, of course, it was multiple sessions, but they had the actual product out there. I think it was a shopping cart, right?
Yeah, they reinvented the shopping cart. Yeah,
that was amazing to me. And it's like, with that team, there was the brainstorming team, and then there was the team that developed it, and then they finalized it, and it was an amazing product, and it was lots of fun too. So so we appreciate you letting us know what you think, giving us your suggestions, always liking us and subscribing us. That's great. Thumbs up, and go be the best inventor, your best you.
And hold a brainstorming session.
Have fun.
The Inventors